Hello there. In this video, we're finally going to show the user the dish or the recipe image and the recipe at the bottom of the image here. If it's in a small screen, if it's in a larger screen, it's gonna be just displayed just like this here. So I hope you're excited. We got a lot of work to do in this video, so let's jump right in there. Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're finally going to show the user the recipe and the image that was generated by the OpenAI APIs. So before we can do that, we need to store the image in a file storage. We're going to use Cloudinary in order to do that. And then we're going to store the recipe data and the image URL that we're going to get from Cloudinary in our MongoDB database, or you can use any database that you want. So let's jump right back into the code. Make sure your server is up and running. And I'm going to hide the terminal in here. So we're continuing from the previous video. We have our landing page and we have our page where we can create the new recipe. So it's probably compiling. Just give it a second and we should be able to see this page now. There we go. Now we saw in the previous video that we were getting our response, right? We get the recipe generated in here, and then we get the image URL from OpenAI, but this link is only up this image is hosted here for 2 hours. So after 2 hours, this link is not going to work. That's why we need to store the image inside of another object storage database. So let's get started with setting up Cloudinary and MongoDB. So in here, I'm just gonna show you where we're gonna go. If you don't have an account, we can go to cloudinary.com and you can sign up for free. They have a free tier that is very nice for you to work on many projects. And you are going to sign up for the free one. And also we're going to need to log into our MongoDB database. So we need to log into your account, either sign in or try for free. And they also have a free tier account that you can create many databases with some pretty good CPU, RAM, and storage capacity for you. So I'm gonna close this up and we are going to make sure you log in or register. After you register to Cloudinary, you're going to be taken to your console, right? If you didn't, just navigate to your console. And we are in this link here. We need to go into the second button here, programmable media in here. So we can go and get to our product environment. So we get a product environment here, and we're going to get our credentials in order to log in to our account from our code. So in here, after you click on here, you make sure you're in the dashboard. And if you scroll down, it's probably not in the dashboard. Let's click on getting started here. There we go. So you can choose the SDK that you want to start with. There's React, Next.js, Python, and Node. We're gonna use Node. You can use Next.js, but this is mostly if you're going to render something in the front end. We're basically working with Cloudinary in the back end, so we only need the Node SDK. So we are going to install Cloudinary. We're going to copy this command and we're going to stop our terminal. Control C, paste it in here, hit enter. And while that gets installed, we're going to go and scroll down here. And we're going to see a example on how to set it up, but we're going to do it together. We're going to configure that, and we're going to use this function in order to upload the image. So in here, you can click on View API Keys, and if you click here, it's going to give you your information here for your API key, your secret key, and your environment variable here. So you need to copy all of these values, and we need to store that in the .env.local. So I created a .env.example just to show you the environment variables that we need. I already pasted my values in this one, but I don't want to go in there. I just want to go here, and I'm going to show you everything we're going to need. So we already have the OpenAI key environment variable. We need to create all of these here, and you can find also the link to the repo. You can copy this environment variables from there, but you're going to copy all of these values. So cloud name is going to go to this one, API key is going to go here, secret key is going to go here, and then your cloudinary URL is going to go right in here. So just copy these and paste it right next to here. So if I do that, it will go here, and do the same with the rest. Cool. After you do that, we are going to run the server back up. So let's go. Before we do that, before we jump back to the code, let's just set up our MongoDB. So make sure you're logged into your MongoDB account, and you should be in the Atlas application here, where you can see your database, your cluster, and all this stuff that you have available. So we're going to connect. So we're going to click on clusters, click on connect, and we're going to click on the drivers here, and we're going to copy this npm I MongoDB, and we're going to also put it in our terminal and let it run. Next, we need the URI. So we need this value, and we need to paste it in here. So copy this, paste it in here. And you need to update your password. So in here, you need to delete this, including the less than sign and greater than sign. And you're going to type your password here, right? Whatever your password is. So I'm going to delete that there. If my password was password, it would look something like this, right? Without the less than sign and greater than sign. Right, I'm going to remove that from there. After that's done, pretty much you can click done. And before we continue, make sure you have your, if you, for some reason, you don't know your password, you can go to database access here. You can click edit, and then you can click on edit password, and you can give your user a new password, right? Another error you might run into is your network access. So if you click here, and make sure you have either your current API key from, you can click edit, and you can, right now this is open to any API, any IP address, not API, any IP address. But if you want to add your own one, you can click here. I'm just going to keep it at 0.0.0, just to make sure I can connect with no problems. So either or, make sure you have your current IP address in there. We can go back to clusters in here, and we can keep it here for now. So now you should have all of your API keys completed here, and we should be able to continue and jump right back into your actions folder and generate recipe in this file. Let's open the terminal and make sure everything was installed. This is installed. This was already installed. So let's run again npm run dev. And we're going to hide the terminal again. We're gonna go right back to the app. We're gonna give it a refresh just to make sure everything is running fine. My server is starting up again, so this might need a couple of seconds. All right, so this is up and running. I'm gonna hide the terminal again. And now in here, so let's go and set up the Cloudinary inside of our file. So the first thing we got to do, if we look back at the documentation here, we need to import v2 as Cloudinary from Cloudinary. So in here at the top, let's do import curly brackets v2 as Cloudinary. Cloudinary. There we go. And then from Cloudinary here. Cool. Missing a quote in here. All right. So just like we configure the OpenAI client here. So this is OpenAI client. In here, we're going to set up the Cloudinary client, and we're gonna do const. We don't need to do const. We just need to do Cloudinary.config, and in here, we need to set up all the environment variables that we set up in our file in here for Cloudinary, all 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to set that up in here as well. So we need to type cloud underscore name. You can see it in here. You can just grab the values from there too. But I'm going to type all this out because we need to do process.env and then the name is Cloudinary. Actually, let me just copy that from here. Cloudinary name, just to make sure we don't make any typos. Put it in here, comma. We need the API underscore key. And we need process.env and I'm just gonna copy that from here. Cloudinary API key. Next would be the API underscore secret. And then this one, process.env and grab it from here. In here. So we only need 3 here. We're going to need the public, what else we're gonna need? It looks like we need the name, the API key, and the secret key here. Okay, so we only need 3 here. That's good, that's fine, that's everything we need here. And then we are going to continue at the bottom. So we're going to scroll down to right after. So we're done with the configuration here. We're going to scroll down to here when we console log in the image completion. So if we look at the image completion again, we have this object here. So the image completion is inside of the object .data square brackets. And then we have the revised square bracket 0, this is an object, and then .url. So in order to get that, we are going to access that from there. So let's hide the terminal again. And let's say we have const image URL equals, we have to type image completion dot data square brackets 0 dot URL. So we're storing the URL inside of this variable. And then now let's see, we can store so we're going to use Cloudinary here. So store image in Cloudinary. What is it? Cloudinary. Cool. So as you can see here, we can use the Cloudinary.uploader function in order to upload a photo. We just need to pass in the URL. So we need to pass the URL plus a public ID. So that could be like the name of the image that you want to, how you want to store it with the name here, or some public ID. So what we're going to do, we're going to say const image file name, and we're going to set that equals to, we're going to use the recipe title that we have here. So we're going to do recipe title that split. So remember that recipe title, it has spaces. So we're going to split in the spaces, and then we're going to use the dot join method to join by underscores. So we just, let's say the name was chicken and rice. Now it's gonna be chicken underscore and underscore rice. So this will become this here, so we don't have any spaces when we store the image name. And we can also make it lowercase, so 2 lowercase. Cool. You can also combine the image name with some random ID in order to make this more unique, because maybe the recipes might have the same name if you put the same ingredients a few times. So you might want to add something else, concatenate this with some other ID at the end. All right, so in here, we should have the image and file name that we want to use. So we are going to say const and continue from looking here. We're going to say upload results. So upload results equals, we need to say await Cloudinary dot uploader dot upload, and then to this method we need to pass in the URL. So we're gonna say image URL right here, and then we're gonna also pass the what is it? This is a, let me see what's in here. That is that an object? That looks like an object. That's a curly bracket. So this is a curly bracket, and then we need to set the public underscore ID to the image file name. Cool. So now we're going to console log the upload results to see what we get from there. And let's try this out. Let's go back to the app, and let's say we want spaghetti. And we want I don't know, shrimp. Let's see what we get back. Hit submit. We got a error here. Let me see, what is the error? V2. action v2 has no member v2. Do you mean v? Oh, lowercase v. Okay, lowercase v. That's fine. Image here. Now we got a problem. No overload to matches. Argument of type string or undefined. So basically saying that this could be undefined image URL. So let's do question mark here. Question mark here. No. Okay. We should have, if we have the completion, all this TypeScript is saying is that we could have a string or we could have undefined. So let's just say we are sure that this is going to be a string at this point. We can have an if statement to check if this image was created and throw an error if it wasn't. But let's continue setting this up first, and then we'll come back to make this a little bit more robust. So adding the exclamation is just telling TypeScript, hey, we're sure this is going to be a string, so let's just keep moving forward for now. And I'm going to hit submit here again. Let me look at the terminal to see if this is doing something. Okay, so we got garlic shrimp spaghetti, and then we got a recipe generator already. We're waiting for the image. So the image is going to be created, and we should grab the URL here, and we should upload it to Cloudinary, and then Cloudinary, the console log should give us back the results. So here, if we look back at the next console log here, we have asset ID, public ID, garlic underscore shrimp underscore spaghetti, which matches our title here. And then we have more information, public ID. So we're going to use the public ID. That's fine. Version, signature, width and height. We got some information about and then we got the URL here. Oh, this is what we're going to use. Let's use the URL. We need to store this URL because now in this URL, if we click here and we open it, this is our image, right? So now look at the image that was stored in Cloudinary. So now it's saved on the cloud. So now we need to store this URL inside of our MongoDB database. So let's go back to the app. We can see that this is working. Let's hide in the terminal. And then down here, let's see what else we got to do here. Okay, so we got the image URL here. And then we need to store the recipe. So store recipe and image in MongoDB. And we need to set up our MongoDB database first. In order to connect to our MongoDB database, we need to create first let's do a DB folder on the root folder here. Let's just click here, new folder and DB. You can have this, this could be your lib folder, but I'm just gonna call it DB. And then in here, let's just create a new file. Let's call it index.ts. And in here, we're going to use, let me open this up here. We're going to go and grab from this link. You can find this link in the video description. This is an example on how to connect with MongoDB. So we can just grab everything here. And we're going to copy that, and we're going to just paste it back into our file. So there's no point of rewriting all of this. This is just connecting to the MongoDB client, which we already installed. So we're going to copy that. And the only thing I want to do here is just this variable client. Let's just call it MongoDB client. because you can have many different clients. So now you see that we have to rename these 3 variables here where we were using it with the MongoDB client, and save it. So this is basically just going to use the MongoDB URI environment variable. Is going to try to, if we're in development, is going to have one instance, or if we're in production, is going to have a different instance. So pretty much we just need to use the MongoDB client to access our collections. So let's just close this up, and now we are good to go. Make sure that you have, well, no, we're using this here, so we should have the correct name in the environment variables, so that's fine. Just to confirm it, I'm gonna go back in here, MongoDB URI. Perfect. Let's go back to generate recipe all the way at the top. Let's import the MongoDB client from quotes add /db. Oops, what happened? DB here, and that's everything we need to do. So now that we imported that, we can scroll down. And let's actually wait. Let's go, and we need to connect to the database that we need. So with the MongoDB client, we're gonna go at the top of the function here, line 16, we're gonna hit enter. And we're going to create a variable called db, set that equals to await, and then we're gonna call the MongoDB client dot db, and the db name, we can just name it recipe underscore generator to match our project name. And now we can scroll all the way down to where we have the comment here, where we're about to store the data into our database. So let's hit enter here. Let's create a variable called saved recipe, set that equals to await, and we're going to use the db variable dot collections, and we're going to have a collections of recipes, right? That's the name of our collection. db dot actually collection singular, and then we're gonna do dot insert or insert one, and then we're going to call the method passing a object here. We're gonna hit enter, and here is how we want to store the recipe. So the recipe document inside of MongoDB, I want the document to have a recipe underscore image, and or let's do first a title, right? We're gonna have the title, and the title will be the recipe title. Then we're gonna have the recipe underscore content, and that is going to be the what do we call this variable? Content? No, what do we call this variable up here? Recipe title, content, yeah. So the content is the data, the JSON data. And then let's do the recipe underscore image. And then we're gonna pass the upload results, right? This is the upload results that comes from Cloudinary, and then we need to do, remember that is a .url. Right, so this is the structure that we're gonna have in our MongoDB documents. And now we're storing all the data that we need, and then we can also just console log the saved a recipe. I think that's just a object that is going to say acknowledge it was store or maybe not. So we can also have some error handling here, but let's continue because now we have everything inserted in here. We're going to see, let's go and go with creating a new recipe first so we can see what happens. And then let's go back to the app here. We got spaghetti, shrimp, let's do coconut and hit submit. Open up our terminal. Create a detailed recipe, spaghetti, shrimp, and coconut. We got our recipe. We got a coconut shrimp spaghetti. We got an article here. And then if we scroll down, the image is still generating. And then after the image gets generated, it's going to be stored inside of Cloudinary. And we're going to get the Cloudinary URL, which is this here. We can open it up in here and see it. Ooh, that looks good. And then we can scroll down. Let's go back to the app here. We can scroll down and we can see the console log from the save recipe. So what we get here is a acknowledge true. That means, hey, we were able to store the document for you or your data. And then it says insert ID and you get the ID here of the document that was created. So we're going to need this ID in order to navigate the user to a page where they can see the recipe. So back in the code here, we we need to use the redirect from Next.js. So let's import the redirect at the top in here. Let's do import curly brackets redirect redirect from Next.js navigation. Make sure you pick this one here, Next.js navigation. And redirect, we can only call redirect from, we cannot call redirect from inside of a try block. We need to call it from a finally block. So we can do finally, before we do the finally here, let's scroll back to the tab here, sorry. And let's create actually a variable up here. And then we're going to say const a recipe, not const, let's do a let because this is going to be undefined. So recipe path, right? And we're just going to declare the variable. We don't want to assign anything yet. And we're going to scroll down. So we need it outside of the try. Make sure this is outside of the try because we need to access this in the finally block. So scroll down all the way to here. And then we're going to say a recipe path is going to be equals to the save a recipe dot insert ID. And that's what we need. We can delete this empty space here now. And then in the finally block here, we can call the redirect right there. And we want to redirect the user to /recipe, which is a route that we're going to create, $$ and then we're going to pass in the recipe path in here. So cool. So now when everything is done, it's going to reach the finally block, and then it's going to redirect the user to a new path, which is recipe. So we need to create that path. So we're going to go and inside of the app folder, we're going to right click in new folder, recipe, and then right click in new file, curly brackets, square brackets, recipe. is this a file? Yeah, that CSX. Actually, not recipe, we are going to be using the ID, right? Because this is what we are using here, an ID, right? So instead of recipe, rename it to just, whoops, what I do? Right click, rename. Let's just call this log ID. Right, so this is going to be our parameter, right? We're just creating a parameter. So after /recipe, the parameter is going to be the ID. So it's going to match this ID here from the redirect. So now this, I'm doing this wrong. So I'm sorry, this is not what we need. We need from /recipe, we need a folder, right? Square brackets ID. That is the parameter. Let's move this file inside of the new folder there and rename it to page.csx. Got a little confused there. Let's reiterate over that. So /recipe, we created it here. And then the parameter ID, which is, so we can access this ID here, is this folder here. And then the page.tsx is the page that's going to be rendered when this path is accessed by this redirect. So let's work on the page now, because that is the next step. We're pretty much done with everything we need to do in the backend, except for maybe doing some error handling just in case the image doesn't get created, or the image doesn't get saved into Cloudinary, or the document doesn't get saved on MongoDB. We can throw an error, we can display the error, and we can let the user to, we can tell the user to try again if something goes wrong. So let's go back into the page here, and let's work on setting up the page where the user will be able to see the recipe. All right, so in this page, we are going to create a, let's say, export default async function. This is going to be a server component. Export default async function, we need to give it a name, and the name will be recipe page. There we go. Let's return a new div from here, and inside of this div, let's see what we're gonna need in here. So we are going to display pretty much the image, and we're going to display the HTML that is stored inside of the recipe data. So let's have a div here, or this could be, we can have a div for now, and let's try, we're gonna display the recipe title here, right? And then down here, we're going to be displaying the image in here. So let's import image from next image. What is that? What else we're gonna need here? So before we can display any data, right, we need to fetch the recipe that was created. So this server component is going to be rendered on the server. So we need to give this server component the new recipe that was created. So in actions, let's right click, let's create a function to get the recipe by the ID, because that's how we're storing it inside of our MongoDB. We actually didn't go to our MongoDB cluster. We can go here and click on browse collections. And in here we can see we have This is not the account that I'm using. Let me refresh. I think I'm using a different account, but you should be able to see the document there. Let me see if I can pull up my Compass, because I think I'm using a different account here. Where's Compass here? Let me connect to this one. And I should have a recipe generator here. And in recipe, we should have the recipe collection. So we see our coconut shrimp spaghetti recipe here. So we need to fetch this document by this ID right over here. So we're gonna go and create a new file in Actions, because this is already pretty long. Let's create a new file. Let's call this one index.ts. And on this one, we are going to, let's start with marking this as a server. So let's type use server. And then let's import the MongoDB client. Let's also import the object ID from MongoDB, because we're gonna need that to access the ID. And let's do export default, or let's export async function, not default, just in case we need multiple functions here. Export async function. We're gonna call this one get a recipe by ID. And we're going to receive an ID, which is gonna be of type string. And then here we're gonna have our try catch, console log the error. And then inside of the try, we're gonna say const db equals await MongoDB client dot db. And the name of the DB was recipe underscore generator, right? And then in here, we're gonna say const, we're gonna access the single recipe by doing equals wait. And we're gonna access the DB dot collection. And the collection we're looking for is the recipe collection. And then here we're gonna use the dot find one, and we're gonna find one by the underscore ID. So we need to pass an object. We're gonna say we're looking for the underscore ID that is equals to. So we're accepting the ID here, but this is just a plain string. Let's go and put this into the next line. And for MongoDB to find the ID, we need to make this regular ID into a object ID. So that's why we're gonna use this object ID class in order to create one. So we're gonna use object ID dot create from hex string, and we're gonna pass in the ID here. And that should be able to create it and find one by the ID. So let's say if there's no recipe, if we couldn't find the recipe, we are just going to throw a new error, and we can say recipe not found with, let's do ID. Let's make this backticks. We can use $, curly brackets. We can pass the ID here. Backtick here. Backtick here. If we pass that check, we're just going to return the recipe. Cool. That's everything we need right now. So we're going to use this function back inside of the page. in here. So let's go and import this inside of the page. Let's do import curly brackets get recipe by ID. And then we are going to go inside of the function here. Let's see. So remember, we can access the parameter here. So we need that parameter to pass it to the get recipe by ID. So in here, we're going to receive the params for this page. And we need curly brackets around this. So we can destructure params. So curly brackets params. And then we need to, let's declare our props type here. So type recipe props. That's just going to be equals to an object which is going to have params. And params is going to be an object that is going to have a param called ID, because that's the name we gave it here. And that is going to be a string. And then we're going to set the type of params here to the recipe props. Now, inside of the function, we can destructure the ID from params. And now we can say const the recipe is going to be equals to await get a recipe by ID, and we can pass in the actual ID to the function here. That is going to go into this function. It's going to reach out to our database, find the document by the ID, and it's going to return it back to us right back in here. So at this point, we should have the data of the recipe that we want to display. Again, let's do a if there is no recipe. We want to show the not found from next navigation. We can import the not found and displayed. We just need to call that function here. So that will display a not found page for us. Cool. So let's scroll down. Go down a little bit more here. So if we pass that check, we could just go into destructure everything that we need from recipe. So from the recipe, we need the recipe underscore title, recipe underscore content, and we need a recipe underscore image. And then we are going to, let's see what we got to do next. Our TypeScript is going to complain in about a second. So, okay, so let's go and after we get the recipe content out, we need to parse it. Remember, this is a JSON data that we got back. So in here, we can say const recipe, let's just call it recipe text equals to JSON.parse, and we need to parse the recipe underscore content. Cool. So now we should be able to console log also the recipe text in here. Let's give this a try. We can go back to our app. We can grab the ID of one of the documents, copy that here, and we can actually navigate to /recipe/ and then paste the ID there and hit enter. I'm getting a 404. Okay, so something wrong with my ID. It was not able to find the ID here, and that is because I have the other database connected. So let's see, what do I need to do? So that probably worked for you. Let me see if I can just fix. The problem is that I connected to this recipe. No, that's not it. This should be. Let me copy the ID again. Go back here. Control C. And in here, /recipe, / paste it there. 44 now found. Okay, so why? I need to verify that I'm actually connected to the right. Yeah, I'm connected to this here. The recipe generator. Let me look at the name of the collection back in here. Not there, but here inside of the index, recipe _ generator, and make sure this is matching. Recipe generator. Oh, I'm missing an S. You see, my collection is recipes, and here is just a recipe single. So I'm gonna put an S here. Refactor this, and now when we go here, let me go and paste it again, hit enter. Oh yeah, we're already there. It works. A refresh. That's this, because right now, so make sure you got recipes here, because that's what we named our collection, recipes. That's why my ID wasn't being found. Now, if we go back to the console, no, this is a server component, so we can open this up here. And we can see here our console log. So the console log that we have, let's close this up. Let's go back to the page here. This recipe text is this console log here. We got the title, we got the recipe. Cool. And we got it here, same thing here. Okay, yeah, this is working. Let me hide this again. All right, so we are able to find the document by the ID. We're parsing the data. And then what else do we need? We need to start rendering this data here. So instead of recipe title, let's render the actual recipe _ title. You can see it here. Cool. Now, what else do we need to render here? Let's give some class name to this div here. Class name, we're gonna say flex. We're gonna say flex - call justify center items center. We're gonna say padding 24, and we're gonna say in a large screen, we're gonna say flex -row for our layout, and then we're gonna say in a large screen, we're gonna have a gap of -10. All right, so right now we're in a small screen, everything is center. When we go to a large screen, everything's gonna be in a row, but we're gonna put the image right next to the title in a second here. So let's go in here, and let's say we have a image here. And to the image, we need to pass the src, or the source. And we're gonna pass in recipe _image. That's gonna give us an error because we need to set the O tag. Let's set it to just a recipe _ title let's do sizes. So sizes, set it to 100 VW, so you can take the whole entire space inside of this div. And then we're gonna say width is gonna be 1024, height 1024. Save it, and now we have oh, okay, so in here we need to, let's finish this up here. We also need to do the style, and let's set the style just like we did in our landing page. We're gonna set the width to 100%, and we're gonna set the height to auto, and 100% needs to be in quotes. Cool. And then we're gonna also set the object fit to, no, we need to do a class name here and set to object dash fill in here. So this is everything we did pretty much back into the landing page, but the error we're getting now is that we need to now inform Next.js about this image, where we're getting the image from, so it can run its what is it, the optimization. So let's go into the Next.js config file here, and in here we need to go inside of the configuration object here, and we need to say images and set that to an object, and then we're going to say remote images, because remote parents here, yeah, remote images or remote patterns, yeah, let me see. Yeah, I think that's the one. And this we can set it to an array, right? Because we can have many images coming from different hosts. So the error is saying, hey, we don't know about this host, this is not configured. Go into the Next.js config file and set this up. So we need to set the protocol that we're using. And the protocol that is using, you can see it here, which is HTTP. We can set that to HTTP. And actually this needs to be inside of an object. So curly brackets, enter, and move this inside. All right. And then this is protocol, protocol, there we go. Now we need to set the host name, and the host name is going to be this here. We can copy that from there. rest.cloudinary.com, and then we need to set the, what is it, the path name also. So path name is going to be equals to this here. So / this ID of your environment / image / upload. We can copy that, put it in here, and then we can do asterisk, because anything after that is going to be like a unique ID and a name of the image we're trying to access. Let's save it, refresh. We're still getting an error here. Let's see. Let's go back. Back. Not working. Let's go to localhost 3000. There we go. Localhost 3000. Let's go to /recipe. Then / and let me copy this ID name again. and put it right after recipe / paste it there. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Now we can see it. All right, so this is everything we need here in order to render our image. So we can close this up. We can go back to the page here and we can see we have our div here. So for the div, let's add here, let's do a class name. Let's set this to w-full, and then let's do a height-auto, and then margin y-5. And then down after the image here, this div here, let's do a div, a self-closing div, where we're gonna pass in the HTML from the content. So the content is the HTML.recipe. Remember the HTML, not the HTML, the JSON data that we got back is in HTML format here. So we need to access this object that we console login, which is the recipe text, and then we need to access the .recipe in order to access this HTML we got here. So let's pass it to here. So in this div, we're gonna say dangerously set inner HTML. We need to pass an object. We can set underscore HTML to the recipe underscore content dot recipe and save it. Okay, so there's something wrong here. So error props internally is set insert must be in form of underscore HTML. The recipe dot content. Okay, so what is wrong here? Oh, recipe, not recipe content, recipe text. That's what we're trying to access. That's not HTML. This is HTML. There we go. So in a small screen, looks how it looks here. And then if we have a larger screen, and larger than that, is gonna be sitting next to each other. Now this title here is on the side when we make it bigger. So let's fix that in here. So we have a div. Let's have another div here. And let's put the title in here. And let's move the closing div all the way at the end of this one here, of the div of the image. Format this. So now we got a div that is wrapping this. So we can go into this div here. Let's do class name. Let's do, let's set, actually, let's save it. See how it looks here. Okay, now it's on top. Yeah, that's fine. Let's give it a little bit of more. Anyways, let's go to the div here. Let's just do then text, something to the text here that is inside of this div. So let's then do text dash 2XL. Let's do font dash bold. Let's do bold dash serif. Save it. Looking better. Let's do on this div here what the recipe title is. Actually, I only need that in the recipe title. So let's take it off from there. And let's just give it to this div here. And put a closing quote here. So we just remove it from here because we just need this one so we can be, so we can display the title on top. Let me see if this is still happening. All right, that's good. That's good. That's what we want. So now what else we got to do here? So we got the text, we got everything being displayed. Right now we see that this is not really style. So now that we're inserting directly, so we're pretty much injecting the HTML inside of this div. So we can see how we're going to style this. We need to style this inside of the globals.css here. So we can go to globals.css, and in globals.css, let's see what we're gonna do here. We could add at least something for, so if we look at the data here, you can see that there's a whole bunch of ULs, LIs, order list, LIs, different section, article. So let's style this LI so we can see this in a better format. So in here, in the globals, this is your global CSS. This is going to affect all the elements around the application, no matter if it's injected just like it's being injected back inside of this div here. We can go to globals here. We can set, we can do add layer, base layer, and in here we can say let's do a, so in here we have an article, right? We can style the article, we can style the section, we can style the the ULs and LIs. So let's start here. I think everything is inside of the section. If we look here, we got the header. Inside of the section is where you have the H2 with the ingredients and then the UL. So yeah, we can go inside of the section here and we can say add apply. So we're gonna use the built-in Tailwind classes to style this here. So the section, let's do just padding -5. And we can see we have some padding in there. All right. Now let's go and do, let's access the header of H1. And let's do add apply text-3XL. There we go. And then we can do font-bold, and we can do font-serif, so we can keep everything looking the same. We can do padding wide -2. Cool. Now let's go to the H2, which is the ingredient text that we see there. So let's do add apply. Let's do text-2XL. And let's do font-bold. Let's do font-serif. And then padding wide-2, pretty much what we did on top. Cool. Now let's go into the UL. The UL LIs. So the LIs inside of a UL are going to have apply list disk in here. There we go. And then the LIs inside of a order list are going to have add apply. We're going to have list decimal or whatever you want. All right, so li, not LIs. There we go. There we go. That's better. That looks better. If it's a smaller screen, still looking good. If it's a large screen, still looks good. All right. Cool. Now, that's everything we need here. You can do some CSS on the article if you need to. I don't think we need anything right now. Just gonna leave it there for as a placeholder. All right, before we finish up here, this video is already super long, so let's just have a little bit of type safety inside of the, so our page is looking good, so we're good here. So, but before we do that, let's close all this folder here. Let's create a new folder. Let's create a types folder, right click, new file, index.ts. Let's create a quick type up in here. Let's say export type recipe, just to make our app type safe for these recipes that we're getting back, so we don't break the UI. Let's do a object ID. So every recipe, every document from MongoDB should have an underscore ID, which is of type object ID. Okay, we can import it here. And then comma, oh no, not comma, semicolon. And then we need an equal signs here. Then it's gonna have a, what is it? Recipe underscore title, which is gonna be a string. Recipe, come on. Recipe underscore content. It's gonna be a type string. And then finally we're gonna have recipe underscore image, also type string in here. Just a quick type here that we're defining, and we're going to import this one. We're going to use this one to go back to this action here in index, and we're going to say that our collections is a collections of the type recipe, and this is going to import the type here for you. Save it. Let's see if something lights up and say, hey, something is wrong, everything looks good. We're pretty much done with everything here. Before we go, let's just create another recipe really quick so we can see the whole entire application again. Let's go to home page. We got our landing page. We're gonna create. Here, I'm just gonna pass in chicken. Let's say, what else we got? We got, just gonna do, let's do, yeah, let's just do chicken, comma, potatoes. Let's see what comes up with. Let's hit submit. Let's look at the terminal here, see what's happening. We get our recipe, herb roasted chicken and potatoes. We get a recipe, we scroll down, we wait for the image to be created. We need to tell the user that this is being generated here, so we're probably gonna make this video a little bit longer. We get the recipe, we get everything saved, we get redirected, and look at that. Ooh, I'm getting hungry, it's too late to eat. So I better stop making recipes right now. Cool, everything, it looks very good, but the only thing here is that we didn't give the user any feedback that, hey, you should wait, we're generating something for you. So let's try to do that really quick. And let's go into, yeah, let's hide this here. Hide the terminal. And I promise this is the last thing we're gonna do. Inside of create, we have this loading state here that we're not doing anything with it. So perfect. All we need to do here is, let's go down to the input where we have the, yeah, let's give it a value. And instead of submit, right, as a submit, let's just give the value of, let's say if we are loading, so if loading is true, we're gonna say generating, ... Else, we're gonna say generate, in quotes. Save it. Now generate, while we're loading, we're gonna say generating, capital G. Let's also do a disable. And then the disable is going to be equals to loading. So if we are loading, if we're waiting for something to happen, this should be disabled. So it should be true, right? So it should be disabled. Also the text area, we can make it disable based on the loading. Maybe if just to make sure the user doesn't try to type anything else, but they won't be able to hit submit. Whatever, I'm just gonna keep it there. But basically you can also do that there. And last but not least, let's give the user a little bit of animation here inside of the input. So in here, let's change the quotes to, let's delete the, where is it? This quote here, let's delete it. Curly brackets, backtick, and then the closing one here, delete it, backtick, closing, curly bracket. So we're gonna add conditionally here. We're gonna say $, curly brackets. We're gonna check if it's loading, right? If loading is true, so loading n, then we're gonna pass in quotes, animate, pause in here. All right, so very nice. And let's do one final one just so we can see this working. And let's see ingredients. You can tell I don't cook. Let's just do steak and I don't know, potatoes again. I have no idea. Steak. And let's hit generate. Come on. Oh, I don't see anything happening here. Did I save? I did save. Maybe I need to refresh, reload the page. Let's wait. Let's see what happens. We still don't see the feedback here. Did I miss something? Value loading. If loading is true, generating. Okay, we got this here. Okay, looking good. But we didn't see the feedback here. Let's go back here. Let's do steak, comma, hit generate. Oh, it's not doing it. What's going on here? And let's see, value, input, loading. Are we setting loading to true? Loading is true here. Either prevent default, loading to true, set loading false. What's going on here? Yeah, this is working, but we don't see the feedback here. So let's see what's going on. What's going on? No. I should have refreshed the page. Now I don't know if this is not working because of a reload. Let me see. You know what? Let's do that. Let's just go home, refresh, create again. Oh, not meatballs. Let's just do ground. Or beef. Just beef. Hit generate. It's not doing it. Okay, something's going on. So let's see. When we hit handle submit, we set it to true. We call this up, and then that should be updating our state. Set loading to true, and then here should be disable. Okay, spaghetti with beef ragu. Okay, nice. So let's see what's going on. What are we missing here? Loading for me is not working at the moment. All right, I think the problem is that we are not giving it time for this component to reload this here. So let's do in here, let's do await. Let's see what happens if we do await inside of here. We're gonna wait for this to happen, and then that should schedule something else for, okay, let's try it again. Let's do steak, rice, And that's it. I don't know what kind of recipes are going to be generated. Let's click here, generating. Now we can see it. All right, because we needed to wait for this to happen in order to continue. So that way React can go and update the state and show the new UI while we wait for this function to return. So now this is waiting. We can see the animation, we can see generating, and now we get redirected. All right, cool, looking good. So we are done with this application. Maybe I will add a few other things to the application, but right now this is looking delish. So I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to give me some feedback, comments, like, subscribe, whatever you need to do. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.